everybody. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel, where we tell you all about the top free best-selling science fiction books of the day, so you have fun stuff to read this weekend. I'm the editor here at MetaStellar, and with me is one of our editors, E.S. Foster, and one of our writing community members, Regina Clark. Hi, Emma. Hi, Regina.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us here today. And we were also helped out today by Nat Couture on some of the looking up all the links and getting everything prepped for us today. So today is October 3rd, and we have four free fantasy books for you and a space opera. And one of those fantasy books is a box set, and it's all different kinds of fantasy. And the way these Free Fridays work is we read the first few chapters of each of those books, and we tell you what we think of them. And we get these books from the top of Amazon's free science fiction and fantasy bestseller list. Yes, they have a bestseller list just for free sci-fi and fantasy books. The link is in the description box below, as are all the links to all the books. Get them quick. Publishers make them free in order to promote new releases later on in the series, and then the books don't stay free for long. So this is your opportunity to grab them. And let's go on to book number 5, and then we're going to count down to book number 4. And let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see it. Here you go. This is The Exiled by Jason Leigh Smith, and it's the first of 4 books in the fantasy series A Web of Lies. And the other books are $1 to $3 each, and they're all in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want, kind of like a Netflix for books. And Emma read this for us. Emma, what did you think of the book?
I was really excited about this one because it promises to have like technology, schools of magic, and there's a necromancy war in the first chapter. So I snatched this book up as quickly as I could. It begins with Selena. She is an inquisitor and she's a member of an elf race in this world. She possesses powerful magic that allows her to manipulate pure energy. And from the first line, she's locked in this battle with like this giant insect demon, and she kills it. And more of the beasts appear. It's clear that there's like an entire war going on with these beasts. And Selena hears that the war is over, but she won't be satisfied until the Necromancer King, who has been leading the enemy side, is actually declared dead. She's at the point where she's like, okay, there's no body, so we can't be for sure that he was actually defeated. 50 years later, Selena's daughter, Slow2, works with her simple team to infiltrate a human camp that was recently set themselves up in a tropical part of the world. So this is a little bit different geography than before. And the elves have previously sent an ambassador there, but the ambassador never returned. Everyone fears that he was killed and the humans are hostile. So Slow2 is a truth seer and someone who can read people's thoughts, along with like she is with somebody who is a true seer and that he can read people's thoughts, and it's a whole thing. So they're talking back and forth in like her head, and they briefly discuss how Selena is never returned because that's her mother, and she never came back from the Necromancer War, but Slow2 is convinced she's still alive. The team successfully makes it into the camp, and this is where Slow2 uses her magic to blast a hole in the camp's wall. They break in, fighting ensues. At one point, the person who could read people's minds lets her know that they found the ambassador in her head and they can retreat. But just as she's escaping, she's shot with a gun and collapses because guns also exist in this book, which I thought was really interesting, along with airships, by the way. But she's taken away to safety just in time. I stopped reading there, but I absolutely love the beginning of this. I love the magic. I love the mix of technology. I love the different aspects of the world, like the different parts of the geography. The writing does get a little info dumpy in some places, but I was really excited to find out what happens next, and I recommend that you check it out.
So is this more of a steampunk kind of book?
I don't think so, because it's definitely set in a fantasy world and not like a steampunk version of our world.
Okay. All
So I
right.
don't know if that would count as steampunk if it's more epic fantasy, because like there's schools of magic and different types of races like elves and things like that. So I,
Yeah.
I feel like that wouldn't be as much steampunk or urban fantasy. That would just be more epic fantasy.
Okay. All right. Next, we have another book that may be crossing genres. Let me make that bigger for you guys. And I'm hearing an echo on the line. So I'm going to mute the two of you guys. All right. So let me make that bigger so you guys can see it. And this is Exin Ex Machina by G.S. Jennsen. And it's book 11 out of a 24-book series called Amaranth, which is a science fiction space opera thing. Or space opera / cyberpunk thing or something. You can tell by the zeros and ones on there that something's going on. And two of us read this today because we were confused, which is how you know we're not AI generated, but real people, because we do get confused easily. Yeah, and so Peter Cooper Hay, one of our contributors, read this, and I've also read book 1 in this series. So this is book 11. So you don't want to start with book 11 in a series, even though they're saying it's kind of a sub-series. It's like the beginning of a new part of this series. But I got burned by that recently. I was reading Merlin's Waif, that series, and it turned out to be like part 3 of 3 different series. And I read the last one, then I read the middle one, now I'm reading the first one. So I'm kind of like reading the whole universe in reverse. Not fun. I've spoiled half the books for myself. I did not enjoy it, did not recommend it. So what I did was I read book 1 in this series, which is called Starshine. And that's what I recommend that you do. And so I'm going to tell you about what Starshine is about. But before I get to that, I'll quickly summarize what Peter had to say about Exin Ex Machina. So he says that this is a world where everyone is cybernetically enhanced and resources are controlled by faceless authoritarian regime. And there's a band of rebels who spend their time with minor sabotage, trying to crack the guides, these authoritarians' image of invincibility, and try to get more of the population to rebel. And she's trying to figure out who she was, she being the protagonist here. She was dumped in an alley and her memory has been wiped. And so Peter says these are all familiar tropes, but the author handles them well. And the action in this book is very tight, with plenty of explosions and bloodsheds. But despite that, it has an upbeat tone, and rebels are all friends with each other, and they can repair injuries easily because this is the future. And there's a bit of a gritty film noir atmosphere, like in Blade Runner. But the emotional tone is more like Star Wars. So that sounds like an awesome book. So yeah, so now I'm going to tell you about book 1 in this series, which is the beginning that I read. So it starts out with a prologue featuring a mysterious alien and a deadly plot. And we're on a spaceship. It's a scout ship, and its captain, Alex, is a woman in her 30s. And she goes down to Earth, to Vancouver, when a family friend drops by to pass along a message from her mother. And her mother's an admiral in the Earth Alliance, and she's not happy that her daughter is gallivanting alone around the galaxy, and she's making millions of dollars, but she's spending it all on her ship instead of settling down and getting married. So her mother wants to give her a bureaucratic job in the Ministry of Extrasolar Development, which is a desk job. And Alex turns it down because she has other plans. And she's got this hunch about something called the Metis Nebula. There's something interesting there going on. And she has the money and the time to follow the thread where it leads. And then we switch to the point of view of Caleb, an assassin. And he dotes on his sister and niece. And so he's not all bad. And he's got a new assignment from the Senecan Federation Division of Intelligence, also something to do with the Metis Nebula. And I personally like Caleb. He's a good assassin. I mean, he's good at being an assassin, and I like competent people. And he kills bad guys. So, and he's good with his niece. So I like both of these characters. I like the world building. There's some politics, and some engineering, and faster than light travel, which means fun exploration of distant stars. I enjoyed this book. And so I read the beginning of this book a while ago, and I finished the book. I really liked it. So recommend this author, recommend this book. And with Peter's review, I'm thinking maybe I should stick with the rest of the series. It does cost money because it's not in Kindle Unlimited, but it could be interesting. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, check it out. Next is another book that I read the beginning of, and I read the beginning of this one today, and it's Thief of Magic by Bree, and it's the first of 3 books in the Shadowed Minds, an adult urban fantasy series, young adult, new adult urban fantasy series. She's like in her 20s. The other books are $4 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And so the book opens with a woman named Leigh, and she's about to step into something called the liminal realm. It allows her to move quickly through the city, and she's heading towards the campus of St. Louis University. She was supposed to be a student there if she'd been a normal person, which she's not, because she can do this whole liminal realm moving thing. And while she's moving through the liminal realm, she's invisible to other people, which is handy because she's a thief. And she's on her way to a mansion at the university campus, but she can't go through walls or doors. So once she comes to the door of the mansion, she has to flip back to the physical realm so she can break in. And just as she's about to break out her lockpicks, someone comes up behind her, and it's another thief, one of her crew. It's Risa. And Risa's magic skill is she can talk to ghosts, which is going to be handy since this mansion is haunted. And as they look through the mansion for the stuff that Leigh's there to steal, we find out a little bit more about Leigh's backstory. So she's there to steal a magic bracelet, a rare and valuable one. But the reason that she's stealing it is because she wants to sell it in order to pay for information that she needs to deal with the magic that's eating away at her like cancer. Once she gets this bracelet, though, things start to go wrong. The lights are flickering, books are flying off the shelves. Risa starts chanting Latin words, and she's trying to talk to the ghosts. And then campus security arrives, because I guess of all the flashing lights. And Risa grabs Leigh's arm, and Leigh tries to get them both out to liminal space so they can escape. And it's really hard going. And she's really dragging the two of them through it. They make it past the guards without the guards seeing them. But then another person shows up. It's an FBI agent, not a campus cop. And the FBI agent can see them. And he seems to be as surprised to see them as she is to find out that he's there in the liminal space with her. And so are they going to escape? The FBI agent is catching up to them when one of the ghosts that Risa had been talking to shows up and blocks his way. And so I'm not going to tell you what happens next because, is he going to catch them? Is he not going to catch them? But in chapter 3, when we're in the FBI agent's point of view, we find out that he's been tracking her for a couple of weeks now. He specializes in thaumaturgic crime, magical criminals, and he thinks that she's a rising star in this field. And he also has this thing where he can block magic. And that's why it was so hard for Leigh to move in that mansion. It wasn't just because she was dragging Risa with her. So I like Leigh. She's sharp and confident and knows what she's doing. I like the fact that we get the stakes nice and early. She's trying to save herself from death by magic. And I'm a sucker for urban fantasy books. So this is going on my reading list. The only thing I'm worried about is that we switched to the FBI agent's point of view, which makes me think they're going to get together. And I hate romance, so I'm hoping it doesn't get in the way of the plot. So let's move on to the next book, which is also a fantasy. Number 2 on today's list. It's the Silvan Saga box set by R.K. Lander, and it's a box set of the first 3 books in the 6-book epic fantasy series, the Silvan. The other books are $3 to $5 each, and they are all in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has been on our Free Friday list before, so old friend of MetaStellar. And Emma read this for us. Emma, what did you think of the first book here?
I think I reviewed this one before, and it's kind of coming back to me. So it's an epic fantasy. It begins with this harrowing account of a warrior. He's on his deathbed. Healers are trying to hold him down, and his friend Renan he's standing by. He's watching. He's knowing his friend is about to die from the wounds he's endured, and a few moments later, he does in fact die. Afterward, Renan comes across the Crown Prince, and we get some backstory on the kingdom the story takes place in. So it seems like the king has locked himself away several years ago, and the princes kind of have to figure out what to do with all the wars taking place, and Renan doesn't seem too hopeful about the situation. The story then shifts to 3 people, one of whom is an elf named Falanar. This elf is young, and he's been training as a novice warrior. At this point in the story, I'm not sure if he's training to be a warrior involves some kind of like fulfillment of destiny or not, but there does seem to be a prophecy involved. And an important thing to know about this character is that his ancestry belongs to 2 different groups, the Alpines and the Silvans. And they're elves, but being a mix of both has brought him a lot of strife because of the tensions between the 2 groups. Falanar and the 2 others are on their way to a nearby city, and there they will be placed in the barracks to continue their warrior training. Along the way, they spot a deviant, or a human who tried to achieve immortality, and they became a zombie-like monster because of it. So the 3 kind of muse on it for a few minutes, and they don't really do anything about it. They just continue on their journey. At one point, the 3 travel through the forest and come across another warrior, and he questions Falanar about his heritage. Falanar responds in anger at the warrior because he's taunting him, and this warrior turns out to be one of the leaders of the barracks they're heading to. So the 4 end up journeying on together. And at this point, this is where I stopped, but I really liked some of the ideas of the story. It's been a while since I've been back to this review, but I especially love the deviants. I remember how much I really enjoyed reading that part, and the pace was also perfect for me. A big thing here for me was that there was a lot of head popping, so it took me a long time to figure out who was who and what headspace I was in. So I don't think I personally, well, I know I'm not going to personally continue with it because I didn't before, but at the same time, I really enjoyed being able to revisit this book, and I'm glad that I was able to review it again.
All right. Before we go on to book number 1 on today's list, I want to thank our Patreon supporters, including our newest supporter, whose name I can't read because it's backwards, and my video is mirrored, but here it is, W.M. Frenzel. So thank you, W.M., for supporting MetaStellar. We are all volunteers here, including Emma, and we've got about 100 other volunteers, judges, reviewers, copy editors, so many video editors, so many people help out with MetaStellar. And we are currently in the middle of our fall submission cycle. We've already had more than 100 stories submitted, and we have a giant team of people reading all these stories multiple times and sorting through them. And we are able to pay for those stories thanks to our Patreon contributors. So we love you guys. Thank you very, very much. And Regina is also one of them. So thank you, Regina. We love you guys. Like I said, we would not be here without you. In addition to publishing original fiction, we also publish novels and anthologies. So this novel, Gods and Monsters by MetaStellar, we finished serializing this winter and published it this winter, and it is on the Nebula Award reading list for next year. Awesome, awesome book. Magical realism, vampires, 80s California, Native American mythology. Such a fantastic, great book. Highly recommend. It should win all the awards if I have anything to do with it. And we also published serialized RENNA'S Crossing this year. Both of these books are free on our website to read, and both of those authors read their books in full on our YouTube channel. Links in the description down below. And you can also buy Gods and Monsters at all the bookstores. And MetaStellar's Year 4 anthology, which Emma put together, Emma, nice job, is now on the book stands. So it's available in print and electronic form everywhere. But all the stories are also free on our website, thanks to our Patreon contributors. But yeah, the link to this is going to be in the description box below as well. And we have like 3 other anthologies, Year 1, Year 2, and Year 3, that are also out, which is the best of the year's original fiction and reprints. And also, before we go on to book number 1, I want to say that I have books up on Amazon, and Regina has books up on Amazon. Links in the description box down below. And Emma is a book coach and editor, and she's there to help you out with your book if you are an author and need help. All right, now let's go on to book number 1 on today's science fiction and fantasy free bestseller list. And it is Legacy of Hunger by Christy Nicholas. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys before Regina tells you about the book. So this is the first of 11 books in the Druid's Brooch historical fantasy series. The other books are $1 to $6 each, but they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And as I mentioned, Regina read this for us. Regina, what do you think of the book?
I enjoyed as much as I read, but I'll give you some more detail here. The story centers around a very special magic emerging in Ireland in 1846. It all begins when a young woman, Valentia McDowell, is haunted by nightmares about her Irish grandmother's brooch, an ancient heirloom. When the Monongahela Hotel in Pittsburgh, where her family is staying, is destroyed, and the fire takes all their possessions, she decides to leave America and cross over the ocean to unravel family secrets. And Valentia feels sure this journey to Ireland will allow her to lay claim to her true destiny. Her parents resist the idea, for she is a single young woman of 23, until her brother Connor agrees to join her. Both of them recalled the intriguing stories once told them by Grandmama Bridie about the Irish Tuatha De Danann, the gods and goddesses, warriors, healers, and druids of the other world. Her journey as an all too practical American takes her through the unfamiliar magical realm of standing stones in the landscape of Ireland, delving into its folklore and most of all revealing the mystical heritage of her grandmother's Celtic brooch. Ireland is the land of fairy circles and ghosts. The mysterious origins of superstitions and hidden worlds are quickly offered by the people who live there and who believe the legends. These elements in the story are really enchanting. But a darker side emerges, for the story also articulates the horror of the potato famine that swept through Ireland in that time, taking at least 1 million lives. Even as people are starving, the English authorities were exporting corn and grain out of the country. The author attends to real historical fact and makes the potato blight very vivid, including the hunger of the people and children and the mistreatment by the British Army. I didn't read the whole book, but I did look ahead, and the massive death and displacement of the people was created by that man-made famine. The opening chapters, however, dwell on the preparations of Valentia and Connor in America for the journey that they're going to take across the Atlantic, their ability to navigate meeting new people, and their arrival in New York City to board the ship for the ocean voyage. Thus, their time in Ireland that I described at first doesn't happen right away, and since the main action occurs there, I found the beginning rather slow, even accounting for the chaos with the fire. But I sensed the evolution of the theme of ancient and often mesmerizing storytelling. How these will merge and mesh with the factual history of the potato famine, I don't know as yet, but I'm inclined to read more to find out. The tone of the book reminds me a bit of the mystery novels of Victoria Thompson, all of which I read and enjoyed very much. So I'd recommend turning to the book and giving it a go.
All right. So you get the sense that there's going to be romance coming up?
I didn't. not from what I read so far, but there's going to be romance in any book of this nature, any kind of mystery fantasy that's going on, and any exploration of Ireland. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure that.
there's like time travel, there's like, Irish magic. It sounds like there's gonna be romance coming up at some point.
Yeah, there's a lot of ingredients. There are.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much, Regina, for joining us again. So great to have another regular on our team, especially one with like a different perspective, because Regina writes cozy mysteries in addition to science fiction, and her books have a kind of a philosophical slant to them, right? Kind of a
Right.
spiritual, philosophical kind of aspect. So really great to have that on our team. All we need now is a fan of vampire romance, and we'll be like a
Yeah,
nice,
like
nice.
romantasy in general.
Yeah, and alien abductions.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to be here again next Friday because we're here every single Friday because some of us have OCD and can't stop. Not clinical level OCD. No offense to anybody with actual, issues, but the fun kind that makes you a better editor. Anyway, so check out the links in the description box down below. If you don't want to miss any of these free Fridays, you can subscribe to our channel. And you can also join our channel, which costs a little bit of money, but all the money goes to pay for original fiction by real human science fiction and fantasy and horror authors. We don't accept AI generated content. So if you want to support real human writers, please support us either on Patreon or here on YouTube. We also have a weekly newsletter that goes out with all the free fiction that we published that week, plus book reviews, plus all the other stuff that we do here at MetaStellar. So please subscribe. The link to that is in this description box down below. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next Friday. Bye-bye.
Bye.